Welcome to Chasing Hard podcast, where we talk about trusting God when life doesn't turn out the way you plan, which is a real thing. Talk to a lot of people who make plans and just doesn't turn out the way you had hoped for. And so, what do you do in those situations? How do you trust God? What does that look like? So today, it's a little different. I have someone actually with me beside me, one of my favorite guests so far, my son Luke. Hey, Luke, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me.
I'm glad to have
I'm one of
you.
your favorite guests so far.
Yeah.
I haven't even said anything.
Well, you're one of my favorite people, so
Oh,
you don't have to do much. The bar's low.
that's good.
All right. Um, so if you've listened to any of our podcasts so far, you've heard me talk about Luke because this is the son who moved across country, which is a good thing for him. That's not the way I planned it. And so this last 2 years has been a journey for me in trying to navigate this long distance relationship. But let's hear from Luke on his side of how it worked out and how he is trusting God and all the things. Go ahead, Luke.
What should I
What do
start?
you want to like? I don't know. Like, did you did you envision yourself moving across the country, like 2,300 miles from where you grew up, where you were born?
Yeah, kind of. I think I had hoped for that at some point. Uh, Not California specifically, but we used to take big road trips out west, and so I always kind of had an affinity for that part of the country, and yeah, kind of envisioned that to some degree, but maybe not quite how it worked out. But
I
yeah.
mean, it's been cool because, well, actually, I expected you to end up in Illinois. Like, I
Hmm.
figured you would move away from the hometown, but Illinois is like what, a couple hundred miles.
Yeah.
You can, I see you like, what, how many times a year?
4 or 5,
4 or 5.
probably.
That's hard for a mother. If you're a mother, you get it. If you're a father, I guess you get it too, but it's hard for a mother.
I think to clarify, I have a friend who lives in Illinois.
Oh,
You
yeah.
don't just think I would fit well in Illinois, just
Well,
in general. I mean, maybe.
and actually, and I probably mentioned that as well. You used to go to Illinois on couple times a year to help lead
Yeah.
worship there because of the friend
Hmm.
and even the person that started the church. I think had visions of you joining the staff at one point. So yeah, that's why Illinois. I was thinking Illinois, which was far enough west for me. Thanks for the clarification.
Hmm.
So when Luke told me, well, actually, he asked me to help him update his resume. And when I asked him if he was applying for a job, he told me, yeah, California. So that, I mean, it was a hard thing as a mother. Let me ask you though, having moved you out there and leaving you there with people that you knew very little,
Hmm.
two roommates you knew not at all.
Hmm.
How was that for you? Like, was that hard? You want to come home?
Yeah, I never really had, it was hard. I didn't really have intentions or desires to move home. I think I always kind of felt pretty affirmed that that's where I was supposed to be. Things would work out. And I think one of the things that was helpful was I was moving there to be part of a church staff, and so I knew that there was already a community. I didn't have to like find it. I just had to integrate, and so I think that was a big help because I think that's part of the challenge of moving somewhere new is having to find your people and where they are and where people are in general. And so that was like a barrier to already a barrier that was already kind of removed. And so I think, yeah, within the first month, it was cool to see how quickly like friendships formed and became like meaningful, and how quickly people I was around kind of became a family, especially the people that I worked with, because it was a very tight group, small. I think there was 5 of us at the time, 5 or 6 of us, and doing something significant, like experiencing the same hurdles and struggles and challenges and um, all kind of even having the experience of like moving
Mm-hmm.
from somewhere else far away and yeah, navigating new relationships and
Right.
stuff like that.
So you're on staff at Slow City Church, which is San Luis Obispo in California. And so a lot of the staff are from here.
Yeah,
So
for
they
this area, yeah.
they did experience.
Not necessarily anymore. There's only 3 of us.
Okay, because
We were from there.
some have left,
Yeah,
but for the most part, you had people who knew what you were going through.
yeah.
Although they have families, they moved a family out there, except for maybe one or two of them.
Really, I was like half. There's 3 of
Yeah.
us who were
Okay.
single and 2 families.
So yeah, I know that you did seem to find a home there pretty quickly. I love the community. And so the struggle for me was I love that you're there. I love your life there. But you're there. And
Yeah.
so initially I thought, okay, we're gonna have to just try to figure out how to keep Luke a part of our family long distance.
Hmm.
And that's really not, I've discovered that's not real possible. It's
Mhm.
you have a life out there. You're still a part of our family,
Hmm.
and we have lives here, and we try to keep in contact and touch base. But it's different.
Yeah.
Your life is different. You have a whole group of people, and then to complicate matters, you met someone, which is not really a
Oh,
complication, but
a woman,
a
I think is what you're
woman. Well,
referring
that's
to.
true.
Yeah.
And
I
someone
met a lot of people.
special, as you have.
Yeah.
Medalist keeps me online here. That's Luke's job from the very beginning
Are we allowed to
of
make
his
jokes
life.
or is this a serious
Oh no, we make a
podcast?
lot of
Okay,
jokes.
good.
So Luke met a woman and she's from California. And it's a good thing. They're a good thing. And I guess that for a while I thought that means he's not leaving California ever. And I feel like you probably will, not necessarily come back here to Kentucky, but yeah, you met someone,
Possible.
which
Yeah.
was probably one of the reasons why God had you to move out there.
Yeah.
So any other struggles? Like I know you had a roommate that you were pretty tight with.
Yeah, 2 of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'd
yeah,
say,
that was a hard thing for you.
yeah, I guess I would say this, honestly, this year, which has been the second year, has been more challenging than the
Mm.
first, due to a lot of factors. I think it's just been a lot of transition, both from a personal life and from a work perspective. But we're a church plant of only 4 years old, and so in the beginning, I think a lot of churches probably experienced the sense of
Mm.
not having a steady home, like physical location. At least we haven't.
Yeah.
And so this year has provided, I think we've moved twice. We've been in 3 locations.
Where were you
Um,
for the longest?
in a parking
Specifically.
lot
There you
outside
go.
of the church or outside of the building that we're currently in. And then we had a bunch of rain the first of the year and then had to move to just a random huge former cubicle space at an office building for 4 months and then moved into this shared auditorium space that we're now in where our offices are also located. So with it, yes, I mean that provided some challenge and then several staff changeover as well from this year. And then I think even, yeah, just like I think I've felt the changing of like relationships across the country a little bit more. Although I will
Mm.
say one of the highlights of this year is I've had 3, well, really going back to last December, I've had 4 sets of friends come out,
That's
at
cool.
least, 3 to SLO, and then met one in Colorado and hung with him for a few days. So I've actually been in the same physical spaces as friends a lot more this year than I have previously, but less so with family. This is the first and only time I've come back this year.
Yeah.
Although I will be back a couple more times for like weddings and such this next year.
Next year.
But anyway, I'll have to say, yeah, I think just the transition, the growing pains of
Mm.
leadership and growing as a church and the new responsibilities and new um like yeah, the new season of leadership that comes with that as well um is challenging in its own sense. And
Hmm.
yeah, so it's been a challenging year. It's been a good year. There's been a lot of good happen
Right.
with it as well. But
So I know that the one transition for you personally and professionally, I guess, was one of the persons on staff was your very good friend and your roommate.
mhm,
And so you have 2 roommates currently. You've always had 2 roommates,
mhm.
but in the
3
first,
if you count the dog.
okay.
Yeah.
At the first of the year, you lost those two
Yeah.
first of the year ish.
To,
Right,
to,
or in the
to
same
marriage
to marriage. Well,
primarily.
right. So one got married and moved to another location in
Yeah. Down the
Slow.
street.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so whom you see often.
Yeah.
The other one, who is from Kentucky, moved back to Kentucky,
Uh-huh.
and then you just saw him last night, but you don't see him that much. And he was a good, like, you hung with him a lot,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was probably very difficult to navigate in your downtime because you both had Fridays off. I know you spent Fridays together, so
Mhm.
just filling that space was probably hard. So you have two new roommates, and I understand I've met them both, and I think you all have a good relationship.
Yeah.
So that's cool, and a dog. Yeah,
Man, a dog. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's yeah, again, like part of that challenge is, yes, some of the relational transitions, because which has brought about some good things as well. With like, so Aaron, the guy who still lives in Slow, and is a former roommate. It's been cool to see the like the way it's kind of changed, shaped our relationship for the better. You know, it's like kind of
Mm,
proved we weren't just friends because we live together. It's like, oh, we're friends because we actually
like each other.
like each other and
Yeah.
value each other, and or takes a different kind of intentionality. But I think that's what a healthy friendship needs, and so that's been good. And then yeah, so, like I think that's an interesting thing with moving in general is there are some friends that from here I don't talk to anymore, and it's like I don't really know if I would say I have like an active relationship and that even means friendship anymore, all those different things. But I think the friends that I do have kept in touch with and have kept in touch with me and have been intentional, is kind of really solidified like their place in my life and my place in theirs as well. And so through amidst the challenge of that and navigating the different seasons and the distance, I think if you have the perspective, it brings about some fruit as well.
So one of the things I remember moving you there, and I remember the first, my first, I guess, concepts of where you're going to live. Like, I like the area. I love all of Slow. It's a really cool town. And the place where you're going to live is, is it a duplex?
I would call it like a townhome.
It's town. So it's 2 stories, um, bath and a half, 3 bedrooms. And so Luke's bedroom was on the main floor where there was a half bath. And it was 3 guys. And I was like, it's an older building, but that's not a huge deal. It's spacious, very spacious.
Yeah. It's
Um,
affordable for the area.
it's very affordable. Like, as a mother, I'm like, I feel like I needed to clean everything. I was like, I can't leave him with people he doesn't know in a dirty place.
That's pretty dirty.
It was pretty
It's
dirty.
since been cleaned.
And y'all keep it clean. I know.
Yeah.
And I like the place a lot
Good
better.
enough.
Leaving you there in those, like, that was hard. But I like your place, and I guess you've come to like your place
Yeah.
as well. You since moved upstairs
Yeah.
by the bathroom with
Moving
a
on.
shower, I know,
Mhm.
with 2 windows,
More natural light.
which is a big deal for you.
It
So,
is.
so that's good. Life is good. Any other challenges that you think you've faced that you didn't anticipate, or even things that happened that on the plus side, you're outdoorsy anyway,
Mhm.
and so the climate and all the outdoor activities where you live now is a big bonus, I would think, for you.
Yeah, for sure. I would say in terms of challenges I didn't expect, I would say like my life is kind of how I would want it to be, like how I hoped
That's
and
good.
wanted it to be in terms of, yeah, like I have a job that I really enjoy, find great meaning in, and love the people that I work with and the community that I serve and the things that I get to do. And yeah, in terms of relationships as well, obviously love my girlfriend and
Aw.
happy about that, but friendships as well. But I'll have to say, like, I think with especially both of those things, like probably the two biggest pieces in my life comes a lot of like yeah, responsibility in a way that I've not had to navigate before. Like it's kind of a new season of adulthood. And yeah, so I don't know if I can we'll see if this analogy works out, but I've been reading the book Dune. I don't know if any of the listeners are familiar with it's a book turned movie called Dune. The second one's coming out in March, so if you'd like to read it, You can
You
catch
should
up
do
anytime.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna, I'm trying not to explain too deeply, but there's a character in here in the book who is essentially this like Messiah figure, like this coming of a promised savior for a oppressed people kind of deal. And all throughout the book, there's this refrain of he feels it's described as a terrible sense of purpose. So it's this like weight
Mm.
of purpose. And so I think in reading this, I've kind of like resonated with that in a sense where it's like with leadership in terms of ministry and in terms of relationship, like comes with it a lot of, yeah, like responsibility. And there's a weight to that. But it's a good thing, like there's definitely growing pains within that. And so I think that's
Mm.
part of what has been challenging this year and a little bit surprising is some of the like challenge that I've felt is just the like growing into what I'm supposed to be doing,
Mm.
who God wants me to be. And so it's not made it easier, but it's helped to have that perspective.
Well, and then you added some classes. You're taking online classes, which
Yeah.
has probably made your life a little more challenging, busier for sure.
Mhm.
I know you have a challenge coming up next year, possibly, probably, because your girlfriend's going away to school for about 12 months. Is that correct?
Well, it's 12 to 24. We'll see.
Oh, we don't even know.
We don't-
So that's something. Here, the thing is, like it always happens. There's always challenges in life, and
Yeah.
so you get to choose how to respond to
Mhm.
those challenges, whether you like them or not, whether you asked for them or not, anticipated them or not. You always get to choose
Mhm.
and choose how you want to trust God in this situation, which is what we talk about here a lot. I had a guest on. It's been a while now. I worked with him. I met him. He's a young man who is moving to Japan, and he may be moving there. He may be there now. He visited. I think he raised all of his funds, and he's going to be moving maybe first of the next year. I don't know. But in talking with him, I was like, wow. Like I thought California was far, but to have your kid move to another country puts things into perspective. There's always perspective, even though California does kind of seem like another country in a lot of ways, but that's a joke.
It is.
Yeah, it's not. It's a beautiful, beautiful place with some very kind people. So I'm glad you're not out of the States.
Yeah.
Um, you're
Well,
not
that's good.
you're not moving out of the States ever, are you?
I don't know.
I mean, you did
Could be cool.
you lived in Europe when
There's
summer.
a couple threats
There
in my
were.
life, so
There was a 2-year period, I think, that you were thinking about living in
Slovakia.
Slovakia,
Mhm.
and that was hard. But he decided he turned that one down,
Mhm.
and then California for an unidentifiable, undetermined amount of time,
Yeah, indefinite.
indefinite.
Yeah.
So that's where we are, and I know a lot of you all have your own stories with your own kids. And maybe you're separated, not even by distance, but by something that's occurred in your lives that seems like very distant. How do you trust God with that? What are your hopes? What are you praying for? It's always a journey. And I feel like we can allow God to lead us and guide us in those things as we learn to trust in Him and the benefits that we get to grow because of these unexpected or unwanted situations. Do you feel like that I've grown as a mother, letting go, watching you with admiration, actually, because you weren't that old. You were 25.
Mhm.
And even though you had lived on your own for a couple of years here, there were new things that you had to navigate, and you did that well. I know you didn't do it all by yourself
Mhm.
because you asked for help and you know how to do that. So, yeah, I'm a proud mother. No, I do miss you. I'd rather have you closer, but
Mhm.
I love that you love your life out there.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any other parting words that you would have for children, for parents, or like anything you would advise parents?
In general?
Is it in a long distance, your kids moving away?
Oh,
Like,
oh goodness.
is there any insight you can give to us who don't like it?
I not really. I think, yeah, just find like rhythms of communication and yeah, especially like time difference makes it a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, um I feel like you probably don't stumble upon communication very much. It's again takes a different level of intentionality. So to even schedule that, like, hey, when are you free next to chat for 20, 30 minutes or whatever? Just to have a framework of time, I think is probably beneficial. So that's very practical, but
Yeah.
I don't know
I mean, it
if
is.
that's
Well, that's
helpful.
good. I mean, so as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not a kid, but as a kid of a parent,
Mm-hmm.
like you probably need space. You probably don't want a hovering parent like texting you all the time. And I mean, I feel like you were very graceful. You gave us a period and allowing us to wean ourselves off of our communication with you. But you probably need your space, like to find your way in your
Well,
new
I don't
digs.
know if it's like space is necessarily the need, but I think that's part of the challenge is uh yeah, if you have relationships with people who live in different places than you, you know, there's a tension of like wanting to invest in the place that you are with the people that you're around, but also not lose the relationships
Mm,
that matter to you, even if you're not in the same physical space. And so, yeah, I think just like understanding that, from because yeah, I think like everyone who I stay in touch with is in Louisville, Kentucky, pretty
mm,
much, you know, and so I think there's a sense of like I'm the one who has moved away, you know, so um, I don't know, it just feels different because
mm.
like yeah, I am trying to continue to plant deeper roots in where I am, continue to invest in the people around me, and I know like people here are doing that as well. But yeah, I just think it's a little bit different. And just understanding like that's part of the tension that exists when you move somewhere else
Mm.
is like, yeah, how do I continue to invest in relationships both locally and
Yeah,
afar, and probably will prioritize the local ones more just because it's like
you're
people in the
there.
same physical space and that's the most important thing. And so, but also to still give priority as well to
Yeah,
the distance
I
relationships.
mean, that makes sense. Plus, I think that applies even when you're living in the same city. I mean, you still need to allow each other the room to grow. Like if a kid moves away from home or comes back from college, but they're not living with you and they're living in the same town, I mean, it's just important to be able to allow your kids to have their own lives, which isn't always easy, but it's important.
Hmm.
So I think that's all I have. You got anything else?
Um, no, I don't think so.
Well, I am glad that you joined here. Luke,
Yeah.
actually, your church has a podcast,
Yeah.
and that's sort of one of your responsibilities, right? You
Yeah.
oversee it and you lead the conversation and guide it somewhat. Keep
Yeah.
it moving.
Help produce it. So
Yeah,
it's a group effort.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you're not a stranger to podcasts. So
Yeah.
I'm very honored that you chose to accept my invitation and
Oh
be
yeah.
here with us. And so hopefully maybe we'll do it again sometime, like give you an update, because I'm sure you'll hear me talk about the kid who moved away 2,300 miles, as I have other guests on who talk about their kids who have
Yeah.
moved away. So and one actually, let me just bring up this one guest I had that her daughter was going to live in or her son did, one or the other, in a oh, what's the disease in the Bible that you get? Yes, in a
Leprosy.
leprosy colony. That's a missionary. So it was
Hmm.
cool, it was good, it was a God thing, but my son doesn't live in a leprosy colony. He lives in
No.
a very fun town, college town. All right. Well, thanks again, Luke, for being with us here.
Thanks for having me.
All right. I will be back next week, and I hope you are too.